welcome to the Home and Finance Show. This show is designed to provide you with credible and current information about buying, selling, renovating, refinancing, building your home and your credit. I'm Kelly Vaughn, and I'm substituting today for the hosts of the Home and Finance Show, Janice Brandley and Diana Rice-Wilkerson. I'm here on a special assignment. Yes, I am. And as host today, I'm getting up close and personal with one of the hosts of the show, and you're going to meet her in just a minute. But I want to tell you, you're in for a treat today. The lady I'm about to introduce to you is focused, driven, determined, and devoted. Diana Rice-Wilkerson is the senior mortgage originator for Fairway Independent Mortgage Company, co-host of the Home and Finance Show, and a soldier in the fight to obtaining the American dream of home ownership, because she helps people get the money to make that happen. Hi, Diana.
Hello, Kelly.
Welcome to your own show.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, who is Diana Rice-Wilkerson? That's what we want to know on this show. And start by telling us what a home mortgage originator is, because honestly, to a lot of us, even though I think I know what that means, it's kind of abstract. But I think that's the first part of getting to know you.
Well, although the show that we co-host, Janice and I co-host, is all about straight talk and insider information, I just don't know that I can really share who Diana Rice-Wilkerson really is, because it probably would scare our listeners and our audiences. So, you know, as a loan originator, though, the Diana Rice-Wilkerson that's a loan originator, my job is to pre-screen the borrower to make sure that they qualify for a loan, whether they are looking to purchase, build, or refinance. Doesn't matter. So I don't have the ultimate authority to approve or deny a loan. My job, though, is to know the rules that get a loan approved or denied. So when I'm putting a loan together, I am making sure that my borrower meets the guidelines. The underwriter, actually, which is a very important role in the process, now that's where the power is to approve or deny. But what the underwriter does is they look at what we've presented. So a good originator knows the rules, because what our job is to let a borrower know as soon as possible, either you do or you don't, or what it takes for you to get approved.
Okay, wow. And I would just imagine there's just a wealth of information, you know, that comes with that. But before we get into the art of it all, I want to talk about you, how you got into this business of helping people get the money they need for a home. And was this how you started, like right out of school, and this is what you, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Actually, I attended Shortridge High School.
Go Blue Devils.
Go Blue Devils. In my senior year, they had a job fair. So there were banks and major corporations came in and offered us jobs. And I applied for a job at a bank as well as the telephone company. And both called, but I was more intrigued with the bank, just the fact that it's banking and money. I enjoy math. I enjoy that kind of critical thinking and making sure my numbers work. And so I went to the bank, where I went to school while I was at work at the bank. I did not ever finish or obtain a degree, but still trying to further my education. But during that time, on the retail side of the bank initially, I ended up going into, I ended up being shared. I was a shared employee. I was shared by the retail side of the bank, where you open bank accounts and all of that good stuff, make installment loans, and the mortgage department. So that was where I got my foot in the door of the mortgage department. And I worked back in the days when you typed everything. I mean, there were no computers spitting out anything. You understand what I'm saying? That's why the senior loan originator, it used to have another meaning. Years ago, it meant you were experienced, right? Now my senior loan originator, I don't know if I should put senior loan originator, I don't know. But anyway, nonetheless, so At that time, the bank that I worked at had one person who did loans, and pretty much all banks operated like this. One person who did loans. If you wanted a mortgage loan, you went to see this person. Well, the lady that had been doing it for so long retired. I was asked if I would take over the responsibility. So I worked out of the main bank downtown, and that's how I got started. My journey, I actually got started with originating loans, actually just being I filled out the forms, right? Someone else took it over after that. But I also closed loans right there in the bank. I remember they kind of threw me in there kind of quickly, probably thought I could grab it more quickly than I could. And I remember I couldn't even pronounce the word mortgage. Mortgage, the way it's spelled and the way it's pronounced are two different ways.
Right.
Could not do that. Mortgage, you're right. All right. And then I found myself at the closing table, because now I'm closing loans, right? And I've got all of these people around the closing table, and they're asking me questions about these closing documents. I could answer none of them, right? So after a while, I backed up. I said to my manager, I said, I tell you what, I'll prepare everything. Had no problem doing any of that, but you need to handle this part. And I studied and then figured out what the document said, and then I came back into it. My journey there, I mean, I became everybody, and this is a God thing. I look back, it's like there is literally no way I had to be on his mission. I didn't know I had a mission, but I had to be on his mission because I originated, I closed, and then I went into the mortgage department where I underwrote, and then I managed underwriting, and then finally I was promoted to Vice President of Operations. So under that umbrella, I learned closing, processing, I managed appraising, I managed quality control where the auditing is done, and just all the pieces. I mean, it was phenomenal. So
now, was that at NBD?
that was NBD, which was Indiana National Bank years ago. Yes, IMB, Indiana National. And while I was there, the bank had been audited by one of the federal agencies and found that we had an opportunity to serve the low mod market, one that we had not tapped into. So I was asked to sit on a task force to develop a loan program.
Wow.
And we developed a loan program for low mod borrowers, 100% financing, you know. It's kind of, I smile because those programs still exist today, but probably back then we were a lot more generous. And that kind of got my juices flowing along the lines of serving and being able to touch that market, help that market that had been nobody was doing anything with, because we had very strict guidelines. I mean, very strict guidelines for a mortgage. So most low mod borrowers would not be able to qualify back then. But that exposed me to that piece. And from there, I fell in love. That's where I fell in love. Prior to that, while I was on the banking side, I worked in private banking. We started a women's department because back then too, women were not as up to speed around financial matters. So I worked for a wonderful bank because we tried to really reach out and touch and provide those services that our clients needed. So yeah, but then when I got to the mortgage department and was able to help develop this mortgage product to serve the low mod market, again, that's where I fell in love.
Well, that's interesting because you struck a nerve there about the women. I never really, we always talk about, African Americans in the community and how they're impacted by, the low numbers in home ownership and being able to acquire loans. And I haven't even touched on the women's issue, man. That's a whole, we need to do two. 3 of these, and obviously that is not the heart of the show. I think what was amazing about what you said in your journey was when you were younger and you saw when you were going into the closing the loans and you didn't really know how to do this,
right.
And you stepped away to study.
Yeah.
And I think what that says to someone watching, especially someone younger, is a lot of times we're afraid to go into something because we don't know it all. And we never do it because we think we have to have all our ducks in a row.
Right.
But what you did, okay, I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm already out here in the middle of the pool.
Yeah.
I just need to figure this out, and I'll come back to it.
Right.
And I think that's awesome.
Right.
So were you ever afraid?
I wasn't afraid.
Or is that scary? Because
I felt I was not doing the job for my client that I knew I should be able to do. I felt we were at the closing, right? So I felt any question that came up as the closer, I should be able to answer the question with a good answer, right? And, you know, you could always kind of like, you know, just kind of in that situation where everybody's kind of nervous, right? You can always kind of like flim your way through. But that's not me, right? It kind of is in my line of work right now as an originator. I'm all about the guidelines. Oh, give me the guidelines, give me the rules, I'll do the research, you know, I'll fight the good fight. But I didn't want to be sitting there representing the bank and conducting a closing and not being able to answer the questions. And so I told my manager, it wasn't like I was trying to get out of the job. It was just like, give me a minute. And sometimes people see things in us that we don't see in ourselves, and as a result of that, they can catapult you into another space. Now, some people might say, I was set up for failure, but it's perspective. I did not feel I was set up for failure, and by then, I'd worked for the company for a long time, and it was like, I'll do all these other pieces. I'll get the closing docs together. I'll do all of this, but I can't, just give me a minute to read all these packages. So if a person asks me a question, because back then, you know,
and even if they set you up for failure, sometimes it's amazing how that will work in your favor.
It's exactly right. Exactly right. And I worked downtown at the main bank. 99% of my clients were attorneys and executives because they just came right downstairs and applied for a loan. So this is not the group, you know, that you try, and not that I did, but this is not the group for you to try and fake it.
Right.
You know, that does not work, right?
Yeah. So can I share some of your accomplishments?
Okay.
And proof of your commitment to what you do. As you mentioned, VP of Mortgage Operations for MBD Bank, Director of Mortgage Programs for the Indianapolis Neighborhood Housing Partnership.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yeah. So when I left the bank, I worked at, again, at Indiana National. NBD, I believe, is one that came in and we merged, or whatever that was called back then. And at that particular time, INHP was looking for a new mortgage director and approached me about coming over there. Well, now I'm right in the mix, right? Because this is all affordable. This is all helping people who need help.
This is the thick of it.
This is the thick of it. And back then, what INHP did, they actually took non-mortgageable clients. Many at that time were coming from mortgage companies and banks who could not approve the borrower in their current situation. INHP was a great partner. We took them, we got them in a position to get qualified for a loan, and then we referred them back. And so as Director of Mortgage Programs, I was able to do that, as well as we started a renovation program. There was just a lot we were able to do. And you could create a lot of things there, because unlike a bank, very regulated, very black and white, there it was like, hey, we're trying to serve a community that's not been served, so, you know, let's start with a blank slate and come up with some ways to really serve them. So I enjoyed myself and I loved the group that I worked with at that time. That was a wonderful experience.
Wow, very nice, very nice. Executive Director for Habitat for Humanity of Greater Indianapolis, huge.
It was very huge.
What?
So one of my managers was on the board of Habitat for Humanity, and they were looking for an executive director. The executive director that had left had started the Habitat here locally. He'd been there 15 years, and everybody loved him, right? So, but he had left, and so my manager, who was on the board for Habitat, thought that might be something that I would be good at. So I joined Habitat once again, working with that low mod borrower. Once again, really all ministry work, because at this point now we had to raise the money to build the homes. You know, unlike at a bank, you just borrow the money. You just, okay, I need money to fund this loan, but not at Habitat. It's like you've got to raise the money to build the homes with the family, and that was a new experience. Awesome experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Also, past president of Central Indiana Realtors Association, voted 2021 Fairway Mortgages Loan Originator of the Year. Did they give you a banner and the whole bit?
They gave me a very nice
crown.
yeah, pretty much. That was a that will always mean so much to me. The Loan Originator of the Year, because that's a peer-to-peer type of thing, and so you know, it's not based off of production. It's not based off of anything other than how your peers see you. So it was pretty we've got a lot of loan originators. So I'm sharing that with Kyle Benedict also, who is a wonderful buddy at work, and we tied. So yes.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Numerous other awards, including the Forbes 500 Market Professionals of 2019. This is recent stuff because, a lot of times people, well, that was 89, but that was just a couple of years ago. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
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 I love it. I love it. And of course, co-host of the Home and Finance Show in radio and TV. So tell us about the TV, the radio part of it.
The radio
TV part, I know, you're sitting right here.
Yes.
On the show, on your show. But the radio part of it is really interesting how you and Janice Bradley got started.
Yes, and thanks to the late Vaughn Watkins Ferguson, and then of course Natalie Chavis. They co-hosted Legally Speaking, and I had handled the mortgage for Natalie, and she calls up and says, "Hey Diana, we'd like to talk about real estate." And I'm like, "Okay, but I can only do the loan piece, but I got a superstar that can do the real estate piece." And so we go on that show, and it was amazing. It was live, and it was amazing. Of course, Janice Bradley comes out of the studio and says, Diana, we should be doing this, right? So, and the reason we were motivated to do it was because at that time, we knew a lot of our community was signing up for non-conforming, subprime, adjustable rate loans. There were no taxes nor insurance included in the payment, so we tend to buy by payment. Okay, I can afford this, but there are no taxes. There's no insurance. You have to pay that on your own, right?
Property taxes.
Plus, this is an adjustable rate mortgage. It's called a 225, awful. So anyway, but there were a lot of them. And when I say awful, I'm not bashing the product as much as not all products are for everyone, right? And I'm a big believer, especially back then, that that product education was much more important than home ownership education. Because I'm not gonna be able to keep the home no matter how much I know about it if I don't understand the program that I've signed up for. And that's what got us, really motivated. And we wanted to bring the information to our community in a really straight talk, insider information way. No bells, no whistles, but wanting to make sure we came across as being authentic and sincere, because when we're older, we're the moms and the grandmoms and the great-grandmoms. We're here to help. And so that's how we got started. It's been nothing but a blessing. Nothing but a blessing.
So thinking, as far as over the years on the show, any stories or a story you could share, maybe a caller who impacted you in some way, or someone that you and Janice helped?
We have received thousands of phone calls. I have no doubt about it. As far as any one particular one that stands out that actually came from the show, I cannot really off the top of my mind give you an example, but this is what I will say. We did the show on Saturday. Starting once we hung the phone up or got off the air, which was 2:00, the phone started ringing. By Monday, for me, I'm sure Janice was the same way, I would always have at least 25 callers that had left messages with all kinds of questions.
Wow.
From wanting to apply, but also wanting to ask about, my loved one passed and they left this house and it's in this space, and I'm facing foreclosure, what can I do? And I mean, it went on like that forever. So we talked to everybody. I mean, we have helped. It's a blessing for us to do it, but we've helped people, plenty of first-time home buyers who are like, I really never thought this was possible. Thank you guys. Now, through the whole process, they're waiting for the shoe to drop, right? Through the whole, because people, it's like, this cannot really be happening. I know you're telling me it's okay. And Janice got to the point, because we talk many times a day, therapy. She got to the point where she tell the client, okay, don't you panic. until I panicked. Because, you know, things going on, it made everybody nervous. It's
Follow
like you
her
get
lead.
you follow my,
Yeah.
you know, get the home inspection back. Okay, is the house falling down? There's 30-some pages. What does the home inspector have to say that requires all these pages, Janice? And the same on my side, you know, here are all these documents that folks have to sign. And, you know, the fact that we were able to walk them through it, we have done and continue to do a lot of first-time home buyer loans for people where they are the first person to own a home in their family, period. So mom, dad, grandparents, no one, right? I did do a loan for a guy who's coming to mind right now. He actually called and he wanted a HUD home. And anyway, we did the whole bit, and HUD was, there was a deadline, so we had to get the approval letter done and everything. And this guy was so cool and so nervous, he never told anybody in his family he was getting a mortgage.
Oh.
Like no one. It wasn't until he was cleared to close that he told his mother, because fear.
Fear for family.
So many stories right up until the minute, and the loan goes bust, right? People didn't want to be in that situation. But we've been blessed. Even when we have to give folks bad news or say that we can't help them, they've been gracious. I've gotten calls, sure Janice has as well, where the caller will just call up and say, I just want to tell you guys what a blessing you are to the community. They don't want anything, they don't need anything, but they're just grateful for the information. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. I love it. So now tell us about your family.
My family, oh wow. So I'm from a family of there were 8 folks, 6 kids, okay, my mom and dad, and we rented forever. I mean, and there were 8 of us, so you know, living in a house where you had, you know, a bedroom for every kid and all of that sort of stuff, that wasn't even thought of, you know. We were renting, and my dad was a paper hanger painter, superb at it. So most of the time when we moved into a home, which we didn't move a whole lot, but still, when we did move, it required him to paper hang and paint it. I mean, he did all of that good stuff. So we lived, it was okay, it was nice, but we didn't own a property. I don't know, maybe I was about 17, maybe? Somewhere maybe around 17 is when my parents bought the home that I ended up, probably 14. That's when my parents bought the home that I ended up finishing out my adulthood in. And that was the first time I had any exposure to home ownership. That's, you know, and so anyway, but when I went to work at the bank, I knew that that was something that I was going to want to do. You know, I wanted to become a homeowner. So I did buy a home. My first home that I bought was right next door to my parents.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I need to say to you and to the viewers of this show, one of the things that really keeps my juices flowing with home and finance is I think I've been my customers. There's no situation that they have. I can't say that I've had every single situation, but the credit, the foreclosures, the bankruptcy, I've had all of that happen in my life while I was working at a bank. So I totally understand not understanding things. I totally you know. So the first house, been there. The first house I bought was right next door to my parents. I was single. I always made good money. I didn't think that you had to necessarily pay your credit card every month. I thought, you know, okay, so if I get a statement that says, okay, you're past due $30, okay, I'm going to pay it, because then it was checks. I was the person that just didn't have time to write the check because I'm busy, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'll pay it. So then the next bill comes and now you owe $60, okay? So now I'm going to pay the $60 and I'm going to pay it ahead 3 months, right? You cannot pay a credit card ahead 3 months. I did not know you could not do that. Okay, so then when I would get the next month's bill and it said I still owed another payment, I'm thinking I paid ahead 3 months. Right.
Are you crazy?
I was being promoted at work, and my manager said, because as an officer, they pull your credit and they look at all your finances at the bank. And my manager said, hey, you know, he's so cool. He said, Diana, he said, listen, because back then we didn't have credit scores either. pulled your credit report. It looks like you have a few late payments on your credit cards. You cannot have that. And so he's the one that explained to me how you pay a credit card. Right. I had no idea.
Right. And see, and that's what I think, that's what obviously what you and Janice provide is that, the stuff that we don't know.
Yeah.
And like you were saying about credit cards, I can remember like when I was younger, well, why do I got to pay it on time? Nobody pays me on time. What's the big rush? And I cut a lot of people's slack. I got loans out now that that I'm waiting to get paid. But that's just that's the way life is. So this whole thing has got to be by this date. What is that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my mindset, and that's why I can relate to my customers. My mindset is I'm going to pay you. Okay.
Yeah.
This whole timing thing of every 30 days.
What is that?
What is that? Don't get me started.
The answers on this show will tell you what that's about. And I know we're almost out of time, but I want to ask you, all the things that you and Janice have done and all that information, is there a book in this? Or is there a book already?
We've been talking about it. There will be a book. There will be a book, maybe multiples. We've been talking about it. We definitely want to. One thing I guess I'd like to see changed in our industry is in the area of homebuyer education. I do feel like it's important to insert probably a couple of modules. One that really deals with this wealth building piece, that just specifically, instead of just saying the words, that homeownership is your first step probably into wealth building, actually show first-time home buyers what that looks like. I think that is very important. And for them, and then the legacy part, we need to also show how leaving a legacy, how leaving a legacy through your real estate and your homes actually will help your the next generation in your family. Right. So instead of just focusing over here, because that, as far as Black Americans or Blacks go, these are parts that we also don't understand. And Janice and I are committed to, again, just talking more about that in the future.
Because Mommy and Daddy may or may not have been talking about that around the dinner table because they didn't know any better.
No, right.
And a lot of people don't understand in terms of, especially if you're, especially with segregation, especially in the earlier years, you don't have access to information because you're not around people that are just talking about it at the vending machine at work.
Right.
You pick up a lot of stuff just being around other people.
That's right, exactly.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you coming on. First of all, thank you for asking me to conduct this interview, and so I'm honored to do so. But you and Janice are just, like I said, the dynamic duo. They didn't wear their capes on the show.
No, we didn't.
But
that's next time.
We appreciate all that you do on and off the air.
Thank you.
For people in our community. And again, I'm waiting on that book. I want to see this book, The Dynamic Duo. Diana Rice-Wilkerson, who is the senior mortgage originator for Fairway Independent Mortgage Company and the co-host of the Home and Finance Show here on WHMB TV 40 and WTLC Radio 1 is 1310 The Light. You're on the FM now, though, right?
Yes, also.
Okay, was that 93?
Don't ask me.
Okay. Look her up. Thanks so much for being a guest on your own show here on the Home and Finance Show.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right, and thank you all for watching. I hope you've had a blast, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.